The public meeting of Wednesday, October the 14th of the Monroe Township Board of Education will now come to order. Mr. Thorney, would you please lead us in the pledge to the flag?
Do you want me to do it or him?
It's your call.
He relinquished his.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
But this way, 17 items. Got to it too.
Mr. Gorski, roll call, please.
Ms. Arminio.
Here.
Mr. Braverman.
Here.
Ms. DeMayo.
Here.
Mr. Kaufman.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mr. Nostine.
Here.
Mr. Poi.
Here.
Mr. Prezioso. Mr. Rybeck.
Here.
Mr. Zarneski.
Here.
Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted October 9th, 2015 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, the Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski. And we will now have reports from our student board members.
Thank you, Mr. Poi. The MTHS Drama Club will be holding its annual showcase the week of October 22nd. Also, the MTHS chapter of the Future Business Leaders of America will be holding its second annual Haunted High School event, which is aimed at younger children in the district and is a charity event coordinated with the cooperation of other clubs and organizations in the school for the benefit of the Mama Mare Breast Cancer Foundation in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Last year, we successfully raised approximately $1,400. Again, all of that went to charity.
And since this is the first meeting that our junior representative is attending, I'd like to introduce Mr. Atib Jamal.
Hi. So earlier today, the sophomores and juniors in our school took the PSAT in preparation for the SAT. And in the coming weeks, DECA will be hosting a car show in benefit of Operation Shoebox, which supports active military personnel.
And, again, I'd like to welcome the Teeb Jamal, who was elected at the end of his sophomore year to serve as the junior student board member for the Monroe Township Board of Education. Mr. Board President, that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe at this time we're going to have a presentation on the Science Olympiad. And who will be doing that?
Bonnie Casaletto.
Oh, okay. Mrs. Casaletto, our science supervisor, will be doing that along with some of our students.
Thank you.
Guess we have to move, right?
Yes.
We can share.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Bonnie Burr-Casaletto. I'm the District K-12 Supervisor of Sciences and Social Studies, and I'd like to introduce you this evening to several of our students who are co-presenting with me.
Hi, my name is Ashley Sankuzi, and I'm in 7th grade.
Hi, I'm Brian Rowan, and I am 7th grade.
Hello, I'm Brant Rowan, and I'm in 9th grade.
So this very special group of students came to me in May with a project that proposed our adoption of a Science Olympiad program for our district middle school students. Over the past 32 years, as we explored together how this this organization came to be, the students did quite a bit of background work on themselves. So I really tasked them with providing me, and now you, with some very substantial research and evidence that supports why we should have a Science Olympiad program in our district. Historically, Science Olympiad started decades ago, and it really hosts a large number of students nationally. Each year, over 7,300 students participate from 50 states. This year, the state finals in New Jersey are going to be hosted right in our backyard here at Middlesex County College. And the general vision of the Science Olympiad program is to provide students with a next generation science standard aligned experience that really develops around engineering design, mathematical applications, robotics, and extending science beyond the textbook and the classroom, but really to a very hands-on, critical thinking 21st century lens. And it's framed around kind of a think tank team experience. Okay, to bring you up to date on the historical timeline, so back in May, this group of students and parents came to me with this proposal. To date, they have a Facebook page of their own. They have over 158 students who are expressing interest in this program. In May, June, July, and August, all through the summer months, I met with them one day a month, and we collectively planned the infrastructure on how we could facilitate this program moving forward for our grade 6 through our grade 9 students. We did last month present to the curriculum committee, and with their endorsement, we're meeting with you here tonight in October. So we'd like to give you just a brief overview of what this entails. Okay, so here's the student story from their lens.
Monroe Township School District needs a more competitive program than the existing science tag at a regional and national level. Science Olympiad excels student learning for those who aren't qualified for science tag but are passionate about biology, chemistry, physics, and engineering. My vision is teams of Monroe students competing at the state, regional, and national level.
Okay, I strongly believe that the STEM abilities of participating students will be enhanced. The program is designed so student learning isn't just enhanced, but they'll also have a lot of fun, whether they are in kindergarten or in 12th grade. My vision is that students of all grades in the Monroe Township School District will successfully interact and connect with students from other school districts through engaging learning experiences.
Science Olympiad will help girls develop an understanding and passion for STEM, and they are 4 times more likely to pursue STEM-related topics in their college majors. According to STEM Connector research, 71% of jobs in 2018 will require STEM skills, but only 15% of female high school students plan to pursue a college major or career in STEM compared to 44% of males. However, more than 3 in 4 female students interested in STEM careers who have a mentor feel that they will be successful in pursuing a STEM career. Together, we can close the gender gap.
Science Olympiad offers a more hands-on problem-solving science program, and students work together as a group and build a good foundation for real-life challenges. Students gain insight on future potential of STEM-related careers.
Okay, so our proposal is a soft rollout of this program over 3 years. We'd like to begin in December with grades 6 through 9, a pilot that we would have an advisor/coach, because that's what they are referred to in the Science Olympiad program. We'd like to map a framework between now and then that would develop the protocols and make everyone aware of what the mandates are for participation in this competition. Unlike our science tag, this is a very competitive science program. We'd like to enter into the competition in year 2 with a Division B team. That would be middle school. And we would like to focus this year on one of the many challenges that can be hosted through the Science Olympiad program. On one of the handouts that you received, you have a list of events that the students prepared that really demonstrate to you the interconnectedness and the innovation that takes place when these students really engage in the wide variety of activities that are offered. They really are hands-on and minds-on. So there's engineering, construction, modeling. There are tasks, performance tasks that are modeled around the medicines and healthcare, around basic science in biology, chemistry, and physics. So it is a very wide and broad program. In year 2, we'd like to progress to a district level competition where we might have 2 teams, Team A competing against Team B internally, and also attend the state program competition at Middlesex County College. And in year 3, after really having gotten our feet wet and gained an understanding of the program, we'd like to then go into full implementation and immerse ourselves in the local and regional competition, hopefully making our way possibly to a state level. In terms of the logistics of this program, there are 3 divisions, A, B, and C. Our recommendation is that we have a middle school Division B team with 25 students. So we would have to set up an infrastructure for the coach advisor to create an assessment that would narrow the field that would be interested down to 25 students who would then become part of the Science Olympiad team in Monroe. The program itself offers 23 main events. There are many options, again, that I outlined previously, divisions that deal with earth science, astronomy. There's such a wide variety for each and every student's lens of interest. They are hands-on, and the engineering-based events seem to be the most popular as we really grow and learn more about the robotics programs moving forward. If you'd like to follow, some more information is available on the website. There are some fees involved in really taking this program forward. When we get to the competitive level, the entry fee for the program would be, or for the team, would be $225. We would need to budgetarily find some funding for an advisor/coach, and we're asking for some very baseline funding in terms of science materials to have one project that would be collaboratively worked on by the 25 students that would be selected for our year 1 rollout. And this video will just give you a short snapshot of what it really looks like in action. Thank you, Angela. It promises to be something really exciting and really challenging, very minds-on.
For nearly 30 years, the Science Olympiad tournament has been attracting some of the nation's sharpest young minds.
Every single one of them is a champion to be able to get here.
We have the regionals, which is like your county, and then we have the whole states tournament, and then this is the grand finale.
With many going on to promising careers.
We have a lot of geoscientists, meteorologists, robotic engineers.
I wanted to be a nurse since I was like a little girl.
A doctor or dentist.
Biology or neuroscience.
Some kind of engineer.
Design telescopes for deep space.
The tournament, hosted by Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, featured more than 40 events with teams from every state and one from Japan.
2, 1, drop.
More than 2,000 middle and high school students were put through a variety of skill challenges with events like the rotor egg drop, mousetrap vehicle, and Mission Possible.
Raise a platform with a battery and 10 dominoes. Try not to get them to fall off.
14-year-old Claire Burst's Sacramento, California team gave it their best.
Our dominoes and things didn't raise as high as they have in practice, so we're not sure why that happened, but I think we're pretty satisfied with the performance.
They're learning how to do these devices that are things that are going to be life skills that they'll be able to take with them when they go into college and into the real world.
Oh, it's so fun, but I mean, lots of stress as well.
It's wonderful to make it fun. You know, it's so important to make it fun because it is fun. You know, it's the excitement of discovery, excitement of invention. These are our best kids. This is our future.
A future where innovation is the biggest winner. I'm meteorologist Jen Carfagno, the Weather Channel.
So I think that pretty clearly demonstrates the innovation that a program of this nature could bring to our district. I'm hoping you'll join us in support of this proposed program, and I surely would be totally remiss if I didn't thank this group of students for really doing all the legwork and bringing this knowledge to not only me, but to you tonight. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Casaletto. I'm not sure if we have any questions from the board on this program.
What makes us say that?
Anyone with questions? Mrs. Arminio?
Just a couple.
Sure.
The student criteria for participation, what would that be?
That would have to be set up, and we need to create that framework. So right now, we're presenting you with this proposal to take it forward into the planning process.
Are there guidelines for the Science Olympiad? Is there an organization?
There's a very large national organization that is framed by some very structured protocols for competition. Yes.
For competition, but the criteria for student participation, is that framed in their protocols as well?
It's framed at the local level. Just a side note, West Windsor Plainsboro has a very excellent program. I think Dr. Kozak mentioned where you came from in your previous school district.
Well, Hunterdon County is not only Hunterdon, but some of the surrounding counties. They were very heavily involved, and I think it's a great program as well. As you can see from the video, some really exciting opportunities for kids.
Is it a during school or after school program?
This would be an after-school program. I met probably 2 weeks ago with the building administration at the middle school, and we were trying to craft out what day of the week, if the proposal is passed, we would host this.
And
it would probably also rely a good deal on some parent support.
I was going to ask, what type of commitment from parents, students, and teachers, of course? Around a time? Do you have a time?
Time, I think we're going to probably welcome volunteers. I think there are some parents that are very interested in the robotics piece. We'd like to bring them on board and welcome them as collaborators and partners with us in teaching and learning. I do think in terms of funding and going to a national competition, from what I understand from South Brunswick and West Windsor Plainsboro, parents do fund their children on their own to fly to national competitions. And I would believe that would be our expectation as well.
Thank you.
Will this be open to non-science tag children?
This would be open to all children, but remember it is a competitive program, so there will be an assessment that will qualify students to come into this competitive program. So it's different in that way from science tag. It's highly competitive. Mr. Nalstein?
I just want to say that, and congratulate you, because it's programs like this that motivate students, foster the kind of skills that we want to see at high levels, But when we go back to motivating students, sometimes we see skills in students that they didn't show or demonstrate before because of that motivation. And, you know, good teaching involves motivation. And this is certainly a good example of good instructional activity. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have to thank the students because they're the ones that motivated me. When they came to me, I think I could have gone two routes. I could have done all the legwork myself and made the presentation by myself, but they so inspired me that I felt it was so necessary that you heard their voice. And I will tell you, I had them go through, ask them, they had homework. I asked them, what are your goals? What's your vision for this program? How will we frame it? What are your thoughts? What are you interested in more specifically? So they were tasked with bringing me back information and doing some fact-finding as the backbone of this, you know, this whole proposal. So I owe them credit for inspiring me. Any other questions?
Kaufman?
Mr. Kaufman?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear on something I saw and something I thought I heard. So are students that are part of the science tag program excluded from this or included in this?
They certainly are included. So everyone would be included to take the assessment. However, we would have 25 seats for the students that score the highest on the assessment, and that's how this competitive program operates.
Because I thought I saw a slide that said for students that didn't qualify for tag.
I think the perception of the students, and they crafted their slides, so what they read, they crafted. So I think that there might be some students who did not get into science tag who feel they would like to try an opportunity at Science Olympiad. Okay. I hope that clarifies a little bit.
Anyone else?
Are there any other questions I can host?
Okay, once again, thank you, Mrs. Castelletto. And
Thank you. Thank you,
also
Mr.
to our
Poi.
students.
Thank you, everyone.
At this time, we will open the floor to the first public forum. Keep in mind that this forum is designed for members of the public to comment or ask questions on items which are on the agenda. In coming to the podium, please state your name and your address. If you happen to have any group affiliation, please state that. All comments or questions should be directed to the president. It may, however, be answered by other members of the administration. And keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Good evening. My name is Victor Cooper. I'm affiliated with a committee called the Citizens About Responsible Development here in Monroe Township. I'm the chairman of the committee. We represent currently about 11 to 12,000 residents between active adult communities and non-active adult communities. Our goal is to try and rein in what we considered to be, when we started it, the unrestrained development of non-age restricted houses in the town, which are generating thousands, we feel, of students in the next 10 years. You're already beginning to feel the impact of that with this year's increase in students. Mr. Poi, the question I have is, I'd like to get onto the ad hoc committee that's going to evaluate the impact, and I wonder how to go about doing that.
Okay, well, we are in the process, and I'll be saying more about this later this evening, but we are in the process of planning for that committee, determining how we're going to set it up, when it will meet, et cetera. So make sure before you leave this evening that we have your name, phone number, email address.
Who should I give that to?
You can give it to Mrs. Tagliaferro, who's sitting over there waving. Can you see her behind the speaker stand?
You're hiding her. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Ira Tesler, 11 Elliott Drive. I'm here to make my comments tonight on the second and final reading of the school use of facilities policy and regulation. My understanding is that the major change on that is to move the Mighty Oaks players and the other committee, what is it? The
Mighty Oaks?
Cultural Arts. Just slipped my mind. The Cultural Arts to Tier 1. What that means is that these two organizations which is sponsored by the municipal government, will get free use of the facilities of the Monroe Board of Education. I believe that these two programs are well worth it. I always supported the arts, but these two programs should be fully funded by ticket sales and revenue they generate through ticket sales. So I don't believe that they should be moved to the Tier 1, because these ticket sales could surely pay for the use of school facilities. I don't believe our tax money should go to pay for these organizations through the use of our facilities, such as the custodial staff and all the overtime we have to pay in electricity, etc. We just talked about the Science Olympiad. I'm sure money that we would go to pay for overtime for these programs that we would have to pay out of our school budget could surely pay for the Science Olympiad, and there's better use for the school budget to go toward education and not to fund the town's programs. And I urge the Board of Education not to pass the revision to this regulation and policy tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else moving to the podium, I will therefore close the first public forum and move on to the approval of minutes. I move that we accept the minutes of the Public Board of Education meeting of July 22nd, 2015.
Second. So moved.
Jaworski, roll call. Oh, we can do this by aye, can't we? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? 2 abstentions, okay. Any recusals? All right. Thank you. So the minutes are therefore approved, and we will now go to committee reports. Are any of the chair people of our committees wanting to make a report tonight? Mr. Coppin?
Oh, thanks. Yes, the curriculum committee met this evening. We had a rather large agenda. I'll go over the quick stuff, and I'll highlight a couple of things we spoke about. We went through the grade 11 health and physical educational program, grade 12 teen prep or PEP, strength and conditioning, life skills for Falcon Life, pre-calculus, AP statistics, and AP bio. Additionally, we had an update on 2 things that are relatively new and exciting for the district. We are currently going through a pilot for a K through 3 report card. As many of you may recall, we made an announcement a while back that we were looking at trying to create actual report cards and redesigning some of the ones that we already had for our K through 3 students. And we're doing a pilot this year, and we're going to do an assessment and see how everything works out and figure out what we're going to do from there, probably rolling it out potentially next year. And I hope I don't, did you want to say anything? Okay. Hope I don't mess anything up on this one. So the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy. The New Jersey, I guess it's Department of Education, is seeking certain districts, and ours is going to be included as one of them, that will look to get this bilateral seal that a parent or a student can go after if they wish to, which will in effect certify that a student is bilingual. This is over and above what had been done previously, where you could take maybe English and Spanish and take the AP courses and what have you. This program will actually provide students a almost certification level type of acknowledgement on their transcripts that they are in fact bilingual. We went through some of the pilot programs that have been done in other districts. We went over our potential rollout for our district. And we also discussed in brief the amount of cost per test. It was originally recommended that while we have the funding in our budget, the board should potentially cover the costs for the testing. But I think we discussed during the meeting that it was the view of the board that this would fall into the same kind of guidance as AP, where we would ask that the parents would carry the cost of the testing, even though we have the money in the budget. So that's where we left it. So what do we do now after this? Do we have to bring it to the full board? Is that what we're going to do?
Yes. In order to apply for the certification so that we could offer this to our students, we would have to have a resolution by the board before December 1st. So we would bring it to the board at the November board meeting.
Okay, and
the
that's
full
what we'll
board.
do. So if anybody has any questions on this, they're more than happy to get my copy or talk to Dr. Alvick. Did I do all right? Is that close?
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
Any other committee reports? Ms. Kolopanovich?
I have a Finance Committee report, and it's a little lengthy again this month, but I think there's a lot of good stuff happening that should be shared with the public. First thing on the agenda was a Summer Camp Academy proposal. The objective of this academy is to offer enrichment summer opportunities to elementary students in the STEM education, with the possibility of this program becoming a revenue source for the district in the future if this is successful. This proposal was favorably received by the Curriculum Committee and then sent to Finance for their approval. The implementation of this program is intentionally designed to start off as a small-scale pilot program for students in incoming grades 2 through 6 who are currently interested in the sciences, technology, engineering, and math. It will be a 3-week program with a standalone camp offering a separate educational program each week. You will be able to participate in 1 week, 2 weeks, all 3 weeks, or a combination. The camp will have a planned curriculum, performance tasks, and possible guest speakers. It will be held from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. from July 18th through August 5th, and those dates are flexible at this time, at one of the elementary schools, probably Barclay Brook. Transportation will be provided by the parents, and students will bring their own lunch and snacks. It will be a tuition-based program with the cost still to be decided. Dr. Alvich will conduct a survey to determine the number of interested in students, and more information and updates will be forthcoming as we move along with this proposal, and it was approved by the committee. The next thing on the agenda was a shared services agreement with the township. Mr. Gorski presented a draft of a shared services agreement between the Board of Education and the township for the renovation of the district tennis courts located on Schoolhouse Road. The only recommended change to the draft was the Finance Committee was to prorate any possible refund of the $300,000 capital advancement if at any future time the board decided to reclassify the Mighty Oaks or the cultural arts back to a 2-tier user. This reflects a change to our policy, classifying them from a Tier 2 user to a Tier 1 user. The draft agreement needs to be looked at by the township attorney before we can move forward with the approvals by the board, and this agreement with the recommended change was approved by the committee. We also had an audit update. The audit is essentially completed, and according to the auditor, for the 6th consecutive year, there are no audit recommendations or findings. Mr. Gorski discussed the extensive testing that was performed during the audit and outlined to the committee the district's financial highlights section of the CAFR, which I'd like to share tonight. So these are the financial highlights, or some of the financial highlights for the 2014-2015 budget year. The district was awarded $2,755,488 in general fund state aid, which was unchanged from the previous 2 years except for the addition of park aid. $2,500,000 from the high school bond surplus was applied against the debt service tax levy, leading to a reduction of taxes in 2014-15. For the first time in 17 years, the 14-15 school budget produced a school tax decrease of $114 on the average assessed home valued at $300,709. The district continues to experience consistent, significant student enrollment growth, which necessitated the formation of an ad hoc committee for growth in facilities. The committee recommended and the board adopted an elementary school redistricting of students beginning this past September. The second recommendation coming out of the ad hoc committee was to plan for a future bond referendum, which we are in the process of doing now. The board has achieved mutually favorable settlements in the negotiated agreements with the Monroe Township Education Association, the Monroe Township Board of Education Support Staff Association, and local number 11 affiliated with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. The favorable outcomes of these agreements is the result of the willingness of the board and these associations to work together toward the common goal of achieving settlements that will support high-quality education for students, competitive salaries for members of these associations, and a limited impact on the tax-paying citizens of our community. The district took advantage of a very favorable public sector municipal interest rate environment by aggressively refunding a total of $65,275,000 in Series 2006 and 2008 bonds, which will save approximately $3.9 million in interest costs over the next 20 years. The district arrived at a mutually beneficial settlement of litigation between the board and the Jamesburg Board of Education regarding Jamesburg accrued tuition arrearages. It is expected that Jamesburg will be able to fully satisfy these tuition arrearages in 5 to 7 years. Although the constrictive tax levy cap has prevented many school districts across the state from budgeting for capital outlay projects in the operating budget, our district effectively managed to include 3 capital outlay projects in the budget with a total net cost of $1,282,000. These 3 projects were the replacing of 46,000 square foot section of the middle school instructional wing roof, the additional site work that was required as part of the roof replacement project to ensure proper drainage, and interior classroom renovations at the middle school to convert former locker rooms into instructional classrooms. We saved $3,392,981 in health insurance costs, by negotiating out of a direct claims-based coverage plan and into a prospective-based coverage plan. We eliminated all portable classroom trailers from use by the end of the 2014-15 school year, and at the peak of trailer use, we rented 89 units at a cost of $1.5 million per year. Through very aggressive negotiations with employee health insurance carriers, we were successful in reducing the original proposal from Horizon from 11.1% premium down to a 7.8% premium. Employee contributions from the district toward health insurance exceeded $2.7 million. The district recognized savings exceeding $1.5 million since entering into a cooperative purchasing agreement in May of 2011. The board ended operation of MECA, which provided child care services to employees of the district for reasons of economy, budgetary considerations, and restructuring of program components in the district. The board resolved not to renew the lease agreement with the BASS network and directed the administration to create an in-house before and after care program named Falcon Care. It is projected that this proprietary fund initiative will generate a profit in excess of the $100,000 that BASS was paying us yearly. And lastly, we are in compliance with S1701 in regard to the designated and undesignated reserves. And I think this was all done in one budget year and shows that the board is aware of the financial issues of the district and doing the best, especially in the business office, to save money and to keep our taxpayers always in mind when we do something. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Kolopanovich. Any other? Mrs. Arminio?
Well, the policy committee met this week and last week, excuse me, and I'll just be brief. I'll go over some of the policy recommendations for consideration in tonight's agenda. The conduct of the board meeting, essentially that means the procedure in which we will conduct the meeting, not our behavior, although sometimes we should consider that. What basically changes the administration and the board has often heard of the inconvenience sometimes that the closed session, executive session meetings create for the public, and it's been an ongoing issue. It's sort of a difficult issue to address. The committee discussed a third public forum at the end. So we're going to change, with the permission of the full board, we're going to have a public forum as we had that addressed the agenda. Then we'll have another public forum after other board business. And finally, if we go into closed session on any particular agenda, there will be a third public forum that will address specifically any closed session items that may come afterwards. So in consideration of the public, we would have the public do their second public forum before we go into closed session. If anyone wanted to choose to leave, they would have the opportunity to do so instead of waiting till the very end. Okay, so we're going to hope that that passes through the full board. Outside activities revisited, policy 3230, that's basically for teaching staff members. We did have a policy that came through that is not an indication of any problems, but it's just a policy that we have in place in an unfortunate opportunity. It's called suspected gang activity. We have no suspected gang activity, but we should have always a policy rather than a reactionary situation if anything arrived. There's also policy regarding the school year, and then policy 8540 regarding school nutrition programs. The big change in that and the outstanding food services, policy 8550. The outstanding food service charges are discuss bills in arrears. If parents are in arrears for some of the bills for lunches and breakfasts, they will be contacted. So that's a policy that I think parents should take a look at. And then finally, 8820, opening exercise ceremonies. That talks about the salute to the United States flag, and there are some policy information in there if people have any questions.
Anyone else? Mr. Braverman?
Allowed to ask questions?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question for the Finance Committee. It was interesting a couple of months ago when the board jumped at the $300,000 that the township was going to give us from open space money. What was interesting about that conversation was nobody on the board asked if there's going to be a cap on the number of nights or days or hours that the township is going to be able to use our facility. I remember 2 years ago, they used our facility and it cost them $30,000 for one show that they put on. Now, are we just going to give them carte blanche? Because the contract that you indicated with the township didn't say anything about that. And quite frankly, if I had a contract and I was on the township's board on this, I'd say to any group coming in that was under the auspices of the Oaks or the cultural arts, I'd say, take your time, it's on us. So I think it's a very poor contract. I know you keep telling me how well we work with the township and how well the township works with us, but as far as I know, this is the only township that charged a new high school $1.5 million to hook up the utilities. Now that's working pretty closely with a school board, really working well. It's, you can spin anything the way you'd want to spin it, but this just is not kosher. Thanks. You don't even have to respond to that.
Well, I do want to make a couple of clarifications. One is that we have not yet formally adopted that agreement with the township yet.
I understand that.
Okay. And the other point of clarification, and you made it clear, but I just want to emphasize it. We are looking at a policy on gang activity. This was recommended by the company that provides us with our policies that are in accordance with the state laws and regulations. And as Mrs. Arminio said, we do not presently have any gang activity that we're aware of going on in the township. This is simply so that we will have a policy in place in the event that somewhere down the road such activity should develop. But, just to put everybody's fears or concerns to rest, we are not dealing with any gang activity at the present time. Any other committee reports? Any other questions or comments? Mr. Kaufman?
Sure. I have a question on. Oh, sorry. I have a question on the P0164. That's the code of board meetings. Just so that I'm clear, we're going to still have the open public section in the beginning. That's going to be on agenda stuff only. Then we're going to have a public section that's right before we go to executive session. And then we're going to have another public session on nights when we have executive sessions, which is like every one of them, after the executive session.
But only for closed session items.
So only closed session
If you look on
items.
this page
Right.
two of that policy,
Right. So my question
only change is the third public forum, which would only relate to a closed session item. And the reason for that was we felt that if people wanted to leave after we closed business, essentially, public business, then they could, unless they had a specific reason to stay for a closed session item.
My question is, at least from what I've seen, the real challenge has really been the expanse of time, not between that open public forum and the post-executive session, but more of a length of time it takes from the time the board meeting starts to the time when the open public meeting that's not bound
Right.
takes place. That could be who knows what. It could be like for forever. And I think when people had come to the board meetings that were challenging us about moving things up to the front of the line,
Right.
it seems like it would be more practical. Unfortunately, again, I'm having a hard time finding the benefit or the return on my investment if I'm a member of the public, because I'm not really gaining anything, because they still have to kind of wait to the end if it's a comment not tied to the agenda. It's not moving anything up to the front of the bus. It's still kind of at the back of the bus.
Well, the way, what changed originally was that when you came in for the public forum, we used to be able to talk about anything, and then we limited the first public forum to agenda items.
Right.
Which makes sense because but we also changed a while ago that people couldn't come up for a second time.
Right.
So if there is a general critical issue that people want to talk about, we could always revisit that at another time, people being able to come up for a second time. But I agree with you. The only thing that's gained is that people don't have to wait for the closed session resolution. I mean, we're trying to incrementally make changes for the comfort of the public. Because after all, this meeting is for the public. This is the deliberation of the public body on behalf of the public. So we're trying to make it as convenient as possible, but realistic, I guess.
It just seems to me a better use of our calories, or spending of calories, would be make the first one open, whether it's an agenda item or not. The question is the question, whether it's asked in the beginning of the meeting or the end of the meeting. The time is the time. So if you really want to benefit the public, which I think we do want to do, make the first one open to agenda items or anything, ask the question, and then we could move on, and then you have a second shot at it at the end of the meeting.
Well, I think that's a seesaw. I think we've been there, and we've moved into this. So as chair of the policy committee, I'm just open to everybody's suggestion, but at this point, maybe we can see how this works for a while.
Okay. No, thank you.
Or if we have public input. This is the first reading.
Mr. Sarneski?
I have a question, too, on the same policy. If it's for public convenience, as far as not having them around, or having them around to ask questions after our executive session, why not move, like a lot of boards do here in New Jersey, move the executive session to before the meeting? That's something we had a problem with in Jamesburg also, where people hanging out and waiting to speak on our hour executive session sometimes. We moved it to the beginning. We started off with important topics that had to be addressed. And then if ran out of time, we then had a second executive session, which so far we haven't had that opportunity to have a second executive session because we consolidated all our time at the beginning. This way, anything that came out of that executive session, we either moved on or it was put aside depending on what the item was. Did not interfere at all with the public.
Well, that was actually a pertinent discussion that was given at the policy committee. And what we've determined, because we also, even as a member of the public, for years we've been going back and forth with those kinds of things. If you have one of the suggestions was have an executive session at 6 o'clock. That almost precludes most of the public from coming home after work and getting here on time. So, go ahead.
You're starting the meeting the same time.
If you start at 7 o'clock,
we're going into executive session. We are formally opening the meeting at 6 o'clock with a roll call, flag salute. We go right into executive session, and we are out like we do at the curriculum committee. We are out here at 7 o'clock. If we need another 5 minutes, it's simply 5 minutes that we're inconveniencing the public as compared to 40 minutes to an hour sometimes at the end. Okay. We're still getting our business done, getting important business done, and we can act on that same business before the meeting even takes place in the general public.
Well, that's the point. The meeting should not take place, no part of this meeting should take place, even executive session, without the presence of the general public. That is in the Open Public Meetings Act. It basically says it.
Excuse me, but we are opening the meeting first.
Right, but the people may not be able to get there for that. And
the
other
public
issue,
cannot come into the executive session anyway.
No, but, okay. The other issue is that if the closed session takes much longer, it also, when people come here, they're not sure what's going on. They're not, a lot of times, it's their first time here. They don't know how long it's going to take. A lot of people have left. We thought we would give this a try. You could vote against it if you'd like, but we thought we'd give this a try to give people an opportunity.
I think the public would have no problem with us starting our meeting early and coming out at 7 o'clock. We can do it in the curriculum committee. We've done it several times before where we go, we have a lot to do. Let's start with the most important issues first. If we have leftover issues that aren't that pressing, that can be handled in the second executive session, we do that. I think that would benefit the public more than having another chance to speak. Because at that point, we already know what comes out of executive session. And if it's in addition to the agenda item, they will then know about it.
But the language...
I'm going to interrupt here. I'm sorry, folks, because this is simply the first reading of the policy.
Right.
And I think this discussion can continue with the policy committee before we go to a second reading of that policy. I just think in the interest of making better use of our time at this point. We've certainly heard some comments about it, which in my opinion begs that the policy committee, discuss that particular policy. Okay, anything else? All right, then we will move on to the superintendent's report and recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to point out a few items to the board. Our student enrollment, as you see, is the first item under the superintendent's report. The data sheet indicates an additional 162 students enrolled this September compared to last September, and 267 is the number of additional students projected for the school year. And we are managing this additional student growth through the redistricting that actually began in September, and the additional classrooms that were added at the middle school. On the agenda, we have our New Jersey CUSAC Annual Statement of Assurance, which is 100% in every category. This is due to the hard work of the Board of Education, the staff, and the leadership team in the district. And it indicates that the Monroe Township School District is a high-performing school district. I'd like to add, this is not part of the report, but it's certainly worth noting, I believe, that congratulations to our girls soccer team for being Red Division champs, our unbeaten girls tennis team, unbeaten in the division, I believe, our boys cross-country team for winning their second consecutive division championship, and our field hockey team for a great seniors night game. Now, if you didn't know that, and you're interested in knowing that or getting all the latest scores, you know where I'm going with this, you know, that's why you're smiling. If you're interested in getting all the latest score updates during the weekend, during the week, get them right on your phone. All you have to do is text 40404 and put follow the @ Monroe Athletic in the message box. And Mr. Byer has been doing an excellent job of providing those score updates and final scores for our wonderful sports teams all throughout this fall season. So just wanted to mention that. Our Facebook and Twitter page is also up at MTSD Falcons, Monroe Township School District Falcons, and we're sending out some exciting information about our students and great programs, including I visited a number of our science classrooms, today Wednesday, I guess it was yesterday or Monday, and took some pictures of some of our students whose parents signed a permission slip. They were allowed to have the pictures taken, and we put them up on Facebook. They're engaged in some really exciting type of science activities in the classrooms. It was really uplifting to see these kids so excited, and the vocabulary that they used, everywhere from first grade, second grade, third grade, fifth grade. It was in the high school. But really what was impressive was the vocabulary, the science vocabulary that our elementary students were using at that young age, and their knowledge of what they were studying and the, really the objective of the challenge or the lesson that they were working on. It's pretty inspiring. On Monday, our staff participated in a fantastic professional development day focused on many topics. And Dr. Alvich, kudos to you and your staff for putting together an excellent day. Topics such as iPads, flipping the classroom, STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, infusing literacy in the content areas, college readiness, and much more. And I also wanted to, going back to CUSAC, also thank Mr. Gorski for his work as well in the financial areas for allowing us to, meet all those CUSAC standards. And finally, there is a state program, the Department of Education program called Innovate New Jersey. And tomorrow I will be attending, I think, but there are other representatives from the district who will be going. And you have to be invited into the program. And the Monroe Township School District is, I think, probably one of the original members of Innovate New Jersey. So the Monroe Township School District is recognized throughout the state as being an innovative school district. And the purpose of these meetings is to share the kind of innovative programs going on in not only in this district, but for what the other districts are doing. So we share that information, and it's a learning process for all. So with that, I would like to respectfully ask for the board to approve items A through double F under personnel.
Second.
Oh, double G, my apologies, double G, thank you. Move that to.
And I second it again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And for board action?
No.
Do the roll call first for that before board action.
Yes.
Well, do you take the question first? Okay.
Just a quick question on the new positions for the Falcon Care. Is that because of an increase in the census, or is that just that we're still populating that program with staff?
I think the second one, we're still populating.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on personnel items A through double G?
No.
Okay, Mr. Gorski, roll call.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman? Yes. Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Kolponowicz?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Board President, personnel items A through double G passes.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski. We'll now go ahead into board action items.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I ask the board to consider approving items A through O under board actions. P, it's again, I'm sorry. We added the updates, revisions, and we didn't update that part. My apologies on that. Through P. So moved again, right?
Second.
Question.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments? Mr. Prezioso?
Why are we eliminating the learning language disability class?
Okay. We're not eliminating it, it's basically we're addressing the students who are in the program. So we have, as you know, in any special ed program, or I'm assuming you know, as students move up, the needs of the students come first. So that program, we have more of our autistic students coming up from our preschool, and they're the students that will populate that self-contained room. The students that were in that LLD class, the learning disabled class, they are moving up into the next school, and there is, I believe, one student that will move into another classroom within the school. But it's basically, we're not really eliminating, because you see the ones eliminate, the next ones replace. It's just changing the programming of that class based on what the students' needs are.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes, on P, recommended that the Board of Education approve the foundation of the ad hoc committee, and then the last sentence, the board president, superintendent of schools, business administrator, secretary, are hereby authorized to direct and take all necessary steps to implement this action of the board. How far does this go? It says just for the formation of the ad hoc committee. That means these people that are listed here are the only ones making the decision as to who's going to be on the ad hoc committee?
No, there is a steering committee that I informed the board about.
Right.
I don't know, at some prior board meeting. That committee consists of 4 members of the board, 4 members of the central administration, and the principal of the high school. And and I'm going to say more about this later on, and those are the people that are involved in basically structuring the ad hoc committee.
Okay, because it doesn't say that. It doesn't say along with the steering committee. Could we add that? I mean, it really just says that the board president, superintendent of schools, business administrator, board secretary are hereby authorized to and directed to take all necessary steps to implement this action of the Board of Education. It doesn't say anything about the steering committee.
Okay, well,
or participation.
When I was reading over the policy on committees, it says that the president of the board can establish a committee at any time, a special committee, and that's what that steering committee is. Mm-hmm. But we're now moving to the next stage, which is an ad hoc committee.
Right.
And that ad hoc committee will be making recommendations. And it is my understanding that because of that, we need to actually have that formalized by the board, that we're establishing that ad hoc committee.
I get that, but the steering committee, are you saying, though, that the steering committee is going to have a little input in this as well, in the ad hoc, or no?
Yes.
Okay.
But all members of the ad hoc committee are appointed by the board president.
I got that.
Okay. According to policy.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then we will proceed to roll call on board action items A through P.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes on everything except policy 7510, the policy and the regulation. No.
That would be a no on 7510, correct?
Yes, correct.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes on everything except P 7510 and R 7510.
Beg your pardon, what was the second part?
7510.
R.
Regulation, got it, thank you. Mr. Zarneski?
Yes on everything except in action item L, policy number P0164.
Point of order, Mr. Gorski. Because this is really not anything to do solely with the high school, I don't see a need for him to vote on this. Is that an accurate assessment?
Jamesburg representative may not vote on district policies. So although Mr. Zarneski voted and he is entitled to vote however he sees fit, the vote will not be counted because Jamesburg is ineligible to vote on district policy. It does not meet one of the 4 statutory voting areas.
That's precisely how I see it, and that's why I really feel, and I'm going to urge once again, that we stipulate prior to the vote what he can vote on and what he can't. This is the second request I've done this. I'm asking my board president to please, when he puts the agenda together, that we somehow do this. I've emailed you Somerville's agenda, and they have it clearly delineated between the send and receive rep, what they can and cannot vote on. So I please urge that, and I hope that we can make that happen for the next board meeting. Thank you.
Back to the roll call. Ms. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yes to all, no on LP 0164.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz.
To all, but no to LP, policy P0164.
Thank you. Mr. Nostine.
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso.
Yes on everything except item M, P5756. No.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the number, please?
P5756.
5756. Thank you. Mr. Rybeck.
Yes.
Mr. Poi.
Yes.
Mr. Board President, board action items A through P passes.
Yes, now we will hear the business administrator's report and recommendations.
Thank you, sir. Just one or two noteworthy things from the business administrator's report. There's a recommendation for E-rate funding. We've discussed this before. E-rate is a special application process where the district is eligible for a special tax placed on telecommunication charges and utility charges for phones. And we get a percentage back on all of our approved technology purchases, which gives the district about $100,000 to $120,000 of revenue each year. And as Dr. Kozak mentioned before about NJ CUSAC, it's worth adding to that this is the first time on a district statement of assurance that we had perfect 100% scores in every category. Curriculum and instruction went from a score in the 80s to a perfect 100 through the hard work of Dr. Alvik during the year by getting certain curriculum areas approved by the board. And as Dr. Kozak mentioned, the district was due for a CUSAC district performance review this year. That's the full-blown CUSAC audit, where you not only have to self-evaluate, but you have to substantiate everything with written proof, and the county office comes in for a couple days and goes through everything. Because of the confirmed scores from our last audit and the progress and the very low error rates in the NJ SMART and technical reporting areas to the state, Monroe was exempt from a district performance review. We meet all the classifications of the spirit of CUSAC and then some. So I just wanted to mention that. Mr. Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through K be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Ms. Arminio?
Just a question of further explanation on 6. It is recommended that the members of the board approve Whitehall Associates for a demographic study as recommended by the steering committee. It's a small cost, but just curious because we've had several demographic studies done. What would be the purpose of this, please?
Mr. Boyd?
Go ahead.
Demographic studies, also known as enrollment projections, utilize the cohort survival method and the Rutgers method of predicting future enrollment based upon trend line analysis. And that's a simple method of forecasting what future populations will be based upon the survival of the existing population and births that will occur, and that's provided by the township. In order to have the most accurate future projections of what may come in the next 5 years, it is imperative to reevaluate the baseline year on a perpetual basis. So although it may seem lavish to have this report done on the heels of just having it done with the last ad hoc committee, it will improve the accuracy of the next 5 years' projections because you have a more accurate baseline. And that's $3,500 expenditure plus related costs.
Are they going to use the Blaustein projections, the Rutgers?
Yes.
From 10 years ago?
The Rutgers method is the standard of the industry.
I know, but I thought it was a little debunked at the municipality. Could they use some other formula? I mean, even the
Problem, as I understand it, is that the state will only accept projections based upon the Rutgers method.
There you go.
So, Mr. Leary in the past entertained us with very accurate, I may add, methods of enrollment projections, and there are other methods, but this is the only one that the state gives credibility to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Gorski? Mr. Ryback?
I just want to add something to what Ms. Arminio alluded to. At the town level, when they used the Rutgers survey, they really had the demographers reporting was for the developer, and that's who he was working for, and they used the numbers that the developer provided. So that's why the numbers seem so off. So now they're going to be working for us, and it's going to be a little bit more, I think, upfront.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Gorski, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman. Mr. Zarneski.
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo. Yes. Mr. Kaufman.
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz.
Yes.
Mr. Nostine.
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso. Yes. Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Poi.
Yes, except I recuse on item K. It involves the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission, and I'm on their Board of Trustees.
So noted. Thank you. Mr. Board President, board action items A through K passes, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski. I have a brief report, and then we will get to any other board business that members of the board may want to bring up. Following that will be the resolution to go into closed session. Earlier, Dr. Kozak referenced the growth in student enrollment as of the latest data that we have for the current school year, an increase of 162 students. I took the opportunity of looking back at all of the agendas for October, going back to 2010, when enrollments are reported. And what I found was that I was able to determine what the increase in enrollment was from 2009 to 2010, and then moving on to 2011, et cetera, up to the current year, 2015. So over that time period, since the end of 2009, we have increased the total enrollment in the district by 923 students. Okay, now that is in a 6-year period of time. An increase of 923 students. That averages out to be 154 students per year. But I also noticed that 923 students is essentially equivalent to the number of students that we might have in Oak Tree, Applegarth, or Woodland, Mill Lake, or Brookside, Barclay. You know, those are the sister schools that we have. So put any two of those buildings together, and we would have more than filled those two buildings with the increased enrollment over the past 6 years. Now, this is not, please don't misunderstand, all of those 923 students were not strictly elementary students, but in terms of numbers, it at least gives you something that you can conceptualize what that means for us. I'd like to report a little bit more on the steering committee. That committee has now met for 3 times for approximately 6 to 7 hours total. It consists, as I said, of Dr. Kozak, Mr. Gorski, Mr. Tague, our facility director, also Principal Goodall of the high school, and then the members of the board are myself, Mr. Ryback, Mr. Mayo, and Ms. Kolapanovich. What have we done during all those meetings? Well, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth. It's all been very, very good, a lot of give and take. But some of the things that we discussed was how we want to proceed once the ad hoc committee starts working, who will be involved in the ad hoc committee, how meetings of that committee will be structured, when those meetings will occur, and what we expect of that committee, and then finally a timeline. All of those things have not yet been resolved, but that's what we've been working on. And we are hoping that we will have a meeting that will be involving more people. I believe it's in November, and then another one in December. We are looking to have representatives from our parents, representatives from the adult communities, a representative from the police department, a representative from the teachers. Help me out here. I know there's some other groups.
Rec department, police.
Yes,
Yeah.
then the principals and administrators.
Business owner. Rec department.
And the rec department, a representative from the rec department. We're trying to be as all-encompassing as we can be in terms of that committee that will consist of 30 people. It was recommended that it be 25, and we found that we really had to expand it out to about 30. And then we're hoping that in January, it'll even be a larger group of people from the community that will be involved in the input. So that's a little bit of an update on that. The ad hoc committee, its purpose, as is stated in the item that we approved tonight, is to address the growing student population, to take a look at that and what does it mean for our district. So that completes my report, and I will now ask, is there any other board business that anyone wants to bring up? Mr. Kaufman?
Yeah, two things. First is, that's a very important statistic that you ran, especially from the beginning of the cycle in 2009, because half of the period you assessed was at least the worst economic situation in this country ever in recorded history, right? So with that, we still had incredible growth, right? The second item that I wanted to make mention is, I think it's going to be in everybody's best interest as you move forward with the ad hoc committees and all the other subcommittees that you make sure all the participants understand the roles and responsibilities that they have to play, so that as you go through this process, sometimes meetings can be challenging, right? And sometimes things come out of these meetings and it's counterproductive. Things get on Facebook or Twitter or what have you, and it kind of reverses engines that are created in these meetings. Please set expectations that everybody behaves professionally, so that everybody is looking for the common good, that nobody's looking to derail anything. Bring your questions and comments. Everybody is welcome to open and exchange ideas, but it's a collaborative approach that everybody has to agree on how they're going to move forward. Because if you kind of have that point-counterpoint thing, and then social media is a different animal today than it was when we did the old ad hoc committees, and it can very quickly derail any positive things you may have spent 8, 9, 10, 11 hours with, and you'll have to do triple that to kind of reverse engineer any kind of events that happen. The last thing I just wanted to mention was, I was watching you when you were doing your report on the special report on the little news thing. And Sports Center happens to be a big thing in my house. It's on almost 24 hours a day. And I don't know if Boris could do this, but it might be a good idea to have a ticker running across the bottom of our screen as we publish this on Channel 28, to do reporting like that as the board meetings are going on, maybe special events that are coming up at some of our schools, to have continuous information as things are kind of flowing by, maybe a drop down of the newsletter thing that you ask people to sign up for. So it could give people more stuff besides just watching the blah, blah, blah that they have to sit through when they're sitting there watching this at home. Just a thought, that's it.
Mr. Kaufman, just for clarification, are you talking about having that ticker type run during the board meeting or on our website?
On the video afterwards, not during the meeting.
Run it right here?
Yeah, not across you. It could be on the bottom.
Point taken.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mr. Arminio?
This is not really a board matter, but it has to do with one of our board members, Nicholas Tharney. Perhaps we can have him, he was instrumental in getting involved and getting and promoting an organization, and he knows a little bit better how to talk, a student and municipality organization. So if you'll allow him, Mr. Poitz, a brief explanation of what he did.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So I believe you're referring to the Youth Advisory Committee?
Yes.
So I was working with the township and their administration. They were looking to commission an administrative advisory committee consisting of high school age students within the township, most of them from the high school, one actually who goes to Middlesex County Academy. The idea is that it would gain youth perspective, similar to how the township has an adult community advisory board. And the committee is basically charged with rendering decisions and recommendations for the township, the council, and the township administration for basically any issue that the municipal government would have jurisdiction of. And it consists of 10 members, myself included as chairperson, a liaison from the township council, and then 8 regular members, 2 from each grade, and then 2 alternates, 1 a senior and 1 a junior. And so we had a considerable amount of interest from students and other high school aged members within the community who applied and then went through the process and were selected to serve on this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Tharney.
It's Mr. Tharney's initiative that has impressed me since he came on the board. So I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful to the teachers and his parents and all the students like him that are taking serious initiative, learning about government and getting involved. So I thank the district for helping nurture the kind of students we have in Mr. Tharney.
Okay. Any other matters? Okay, then be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, to discuss the following subject: harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and a personnel matter. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Do I hear a?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone want to recuse or abstain? All right, then we will go into closed session. And how long do we anticipate this will be? 15 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes. So if anyone wants to hang around to participate in the second public forum, it'll be in about 15 minutes from now. Resume with the public session of our board meeting. And I believe we have a resolution that Dr. Kozak will be reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the termination of bus driver Kathleen Barati's employment by the board effective immediately. Superintendent of Schools and the business administrator / board secretary are hereby authorized and directed to take all necessary steps to implement this action of the Board of Education.
Second.
Who seconded it? Who was it?
Give it to Tom.
Tom? Okay. Okay, is there any discussion, questions, or comments? Mr. Gorski, roll call.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman? Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole-Panowicz?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Board President, motion passes.
Okay, the floor is now open for the second public session. Please state your name and address and keep your remarks to 3 minutes. You may bring up anything
Don't
whatsoever.
start timing it. Mark Klein. This is really addressed to the Sentinel newspaper.
I understand that the staff writer is not here, so I hope he watches this video. In the October 1st edition of the Sentinel newspaper, a column written by their staff reporter, Adam Uzalsko, concerning Mr. Preciosa admitting to an ethics violation. Mr. Uzalsko writes only one sentence concerning the original complaint by Mr. Tesla against Mr. Preciosa for so-called anti-Semitic comments. The judge, in his article, the judge found in Mr. Preciosa's favor, which means that those charges should never have been filed. Before any of the facts were investigated, the Sentinel reported only Mr. Tesla's side and not all the facts. Yet after this incident, of which I was one of the three who witnessed Mr. Preciosa's comments after a meeting, why wasn't I interviewed to give the other side? Why were the teachers notified within days after the incident, before any facts were in? The Board of Ed, when they filed charges against Mr. Preciosa, the judge asked Mr. Preciosa to plead guilty to one complaint, and other complaints were dropped that were brought by the board. What he pled guilty for was violation that he sent an email to a special ed teacher after he was elected, and he mentioned two elected officials, didn't ask them to vote for them, but just to let her know that these two elected officials would be for better education for special ed children. If recommending a candidate to vote for, then most of your unions, the MTEA, the NJEA, and the National Teachers Association are all guilty of ethics violations because they send out their newspaper to all their members, and when it comes to the voting cycle, the election cycle, they basically state who the members should vote for. If it's unethical to do it on the school board, it's unethical for everybody else. If it's good for everybody else, it should be allowed to be done here. And he didn't ask them to vote. He just mentioned that these people would help the special ed children. That's all he's interested in, is to help the special ed children. I'm going to go one step. I cut a lot of it out because I want to make sure what I say is legal. Okay? The email that they used, that he sent, they took certain parts out of it to make it look like he was a bad boy and that he was threatening this witness. But when you got to the bottom of the email, he states, "Thank you so much for giving my son a new life." His son could not speak when he started with this teacher. She was able to give him the ability to speak, to be a child. I know my 3 minutes, I'm almost 2 seconds, please. There's nobody here.
Well, I see another gentleman here. I don't know if he wants to speak or not.
Okay, last thing. I know that Mr. Preciosa spent over $10,000 of his own money to defend himself. What I would like to know is how much did the board spend dragging him into ethics court? All that had to be done was a reprimand. Could have been done in-house, could have been a public reprimand. He never had to go to ethics court. He never had to spend $10,000. You never had to spend God only knows what you paid. So what I would like to know tonight is how much did the board pay to drag him through the ethics court? Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that has a comment or a question?
Phil Levy, I have a question. I noticed that in some of the conversation about policy, or maybe it was the agenda, that the special service, combined services with the township having to do with the soccer field, that I seem to understand that the township is giving the board $300,000, but in order to get that money, the board has to take and make the teams, or whatever it was, a tier 1 instead of a tier 2, so they can use properties for free. So, do I hear correctly that the township is not giving this freely without any tags on it? I'm trying to make myself understood. I'm sorry if it's not completely correct, but...
Yeah, well, you do have some of the information kind of mixed up. but
Okay,
Mr.
please.
Gorski will clarify that.
Okay.
Yes. As we discussed at the committee level, at policy and finance, the district is in need of restoration of 2 tennis courts on Schoolhouse Road, one that was built in 1979, the other with 1990-something bond money. Both of them have to get completely resurfaced to a large extent. The cost of that project for the tennis courts on Schoolhouse Road, which is district property, is approximately $300,000. We have tried unsuccessfully at the district level to budget for that over the years because of the cap prohibitions. And we even applied for a ROD grant from the state where we would have been reimbursed 40% of the cost for it by creatively tying it to the curriculum for phys ed use, but that was denied. So this was a way that the township could work collaboratively with the district and front $300,000 for the restoration of the tennis courts. And in the spirit of collaboration, the district would reclassify the cultural arts and the Mighty Oaks players from Tier 2, which is subject to use of building fees, to Tier 1. The Tier 1 reclassification was based on the premise that there are a lot of Monroe students who participate in both of those Mighty Oaks and cultural arts performances and shows. And because of that, it was presented that they should be treated similar to the Boy Scouts or the other exempt Tier 1 users. The agreement is still being deliberated by the board. It's not finished yet. Some very good changes have been made that are yet to be agreed upon by both parties. And also with that, the township has expressed the willingness to donate a very large parcel of land for any future school need. And for that piece of land, you're talking somewhere in the vicinity of 65 acres, $7-8 million piece of property. All of this is tied together in the spirit of collaboration between the township and the school district, which Mr. Braverman touched on before, and which, in my opinion, we've enjoyed over the years.
Thank you.
One question. Can you get that information? Or does he have to Oprah that?
He should Oprah it.
Okay.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Lou Masters, 9 Michaela Court. Mr. Braverman is 100% correct. I am very against what the board is doing. The township has been trying to get this classification for 3 years now. And I know you had some good points, and we're getting land, 60 acres of land, and they're going to give us $300,000, so they could be on the same tier as our students and the Boy Scouts. The thing you didn't mention, though, is they're a profit-generating organization, right? They actually charge fees, they sell things, and they actually collect cash. The other tier 1s don't do that. I think it's a really bad idea. It's a slippery slope. Nothing against the township, but they're basically giving us $300,000 so they can get better classification, so they can rent our facilities, which may cost, I know at one point they owed us over $30,000 that they refused to pay. Now, this new parcel land, this is a new, this wasn't discussed at the last meeting, right? 60 acres?
No, that is still very deliberative, and it has not been discussed yet. The reason for that is, as Mr. Poi referenced earlier, the board, through Mr. Poi's directive, has formed an ad hoc committee and will determine how to handle unhoused students by recommending a course of action that could include a referendum or additions to the schools. Who knows at this time? That's why the land is the cart getting ahead of the horse at this point. But like Oak Tree referendum, we had a contribution of land from the township, which otherwise would have had to have been bonded by the taxpayers. And that was a $2 million piece of property, if I recall correctly.
So All right, so the 60 acres is contingent upon the approval of this policy change.
Not directly, the land is not in the agreement.
Okay.
But it is in the collaborative spirit of the agreement.
One point.
Come on, Mike. So the only thing, let's talk the land out of it, because legally there's no base on that. So it's 300,000, and we move the Cultural Arts Commission and the Mighty Oaks to Tier 1, which is the same tier as our students and nonprofit organizations.
Correct.
Okay, I urge you against that.
Anyone else? Mr. Klein, you'll have to wait. There's another gentleman waiting.
I didn't know, I didn't see him.
I realize that.
I apologize.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I would like to know how many people in the ad hoc committee will be members of the parents.
Okay, did you state your name and address, sir?
I'm Ravi Matipalli from 8 Lexi Lane, Monroe.
Okay, and once again, what was your comment or question?
I'd like to know, out of 30 people in the ad hoc committee, how many members will be from the parents group?
There will be, I believe, a total of 4 parents.
4 parents? Because parents are the mostly affected by this ad hoc committee, by the decision made by the ad hoc committee. And 4 out of 30 is nowhere meaningful.
Yes, but understand, there's actually going to be the smaller committee of 30, that will have the 4 parents on it, but then starting in, we're hoping January, that committee essentially will be expanded to roughly, it'll be much larger, and that will have many more parents in it.
No, but 4 out of 30, whatever can you tell me the distribution of the rest of the 26 members out of 30?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm having difficulty understanding you.
No, I mean, you're saying only 4 people out of 30, right? So can you tell me the rest of the 26 members, how it's going to be?
Yeah, how many people?
broke it down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The other 26
and
people.
4 are parents, what are the other 26?
Oh, okay, I thought I mentioned that earlier in the meeting, but there are 4 parents, there will be 4 teachers, there will be 2 students from the high school.
Okay.
There will be 1 representative of the police department, 1 representative of the recreation department, 1 business owner, 4 administrators.
We have some middle school students as well, I think.
No, we restricted it
that's
to
right,
high school. Okay.
Adult communities, leaders from adult communities?
I'm sorry?
From adult communities?
Adult communities.
Oh, and yes, and there will be representatives of the adult community, yes, which is about 50% of our population.
Yeah, but I understand, but the decisions will be mostly affected by the parents, not by the adult communities, because their children do not go to school.
They pay taxes, though.
I know, but everybody
No,
pays
but one of the
bill.
issues with the adult community is that without the adult communities, the taxes in this township would be probably doubled, because the adult communities heavily subsidize the school property tax by the taxes that they pay. I live in an adult community, and I can tell you personally, I'm paying over $9,000 a year. I have a 2-bedroom house, okay? Nothing fancy at all, and I'm paying over $9,000 a year, and I'm retired.
Yeah, I mean, we all pay taxes, and when we are paying taxes, we know what we got into. So we accept that. The whatever taxes that we pay, we know, we have choices, but we made the choice, and we pay the taxes. But I would like to make sure that the taxes that we pay as parents, we get the best value out of that.
I understand that, and as I said, the larger committee that will be actually doing the work in January and subsequent months, that will contain many more parents.
Thank you very much.
All right? And rest assured that it is the objective of this board to make sure that all the children of our township are educated to the best possible extent that we can afford to do it.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Klein, I checked with Mr. Gorski here in answering your question about what it cost.
Yes.
Mr. Gorski said that you can receive that information by submitting an Oprah request.
Very good. That part is over. Now I'm back to my normal self, Superintendent. okay? Based on what was discussed tonight, and this is for the people that are listening, you're telling us that the last 3 years, the state is giving us the same exact amount that we used to have to fight for, because I remember they would promise X amount of dollars and you'd get towards the end of the year and they would cut, they wouldn't give us the full amount. So even though the school population grew by 500 students, the amount they're giving us is the same that they gave us 3 years ago, where our cost, I think last year was $15,000 a year per student, and I think it broke down to $400 and some odd a student, which is ridiculous. As far as the future enrollment, when you're talking about Rutgers, I just testified at a meeting at Manalapan. They got a big development they want to put in, and it's supposed to be 600 units. It's going to represent 46 kids. And the mayor comes out and says that he used the Rutgers report, or whatever Rutgers does, and it comes up with 46. And I know that that's wrong, because the problem we had here with JSM, when they came up with a low amount, the township went to an outside company to come up, and they come up with much higher. It still isn't true. The reason why I'm saying that, in Manalapan, Ingram put in affordable housing.
Mr. Klein, if I may just interrupt.
Yeah.
The comments you're making, I'm having difficulty connecting them to the relevance to the Board of Education as opposed to the township.
You're going out to have somebody, a consultant, give you figures for future enrollment. What I'm saying to you, it's wrong. They said that the 80 units, the Ingram units, 80 represents 46 kids. 80 units for 46 kids. You've got a development which they will not take into account, 2 developments that are approved, and I'll shut my mouth right after this. You have one by us, is 500, I think it's 549 units, all family units, and the same builder on Perrineville Road, from the Make-A-Wish to 33, is going to be 700 and some odd units, all families. So when they come out and they're going to try to give you an idea as to what your enrollment will be, they're going to be totally off unless they use that. And that's the only reason why I brought this up, so you don't get caught in a trap. You got to start checking now. You got to start planning now. And the last thing I want to say, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, is I was on the board for 3 years. I'm off the board now, I think 4 years. I really have to give you credit the way this board is run. I give Mr. Poyd credit in the way everything is kept together. It looks like everybody's working together, and it's a compliment to all of you. Doing what you do, I know people are very thankful about it, and all we ask is you just always remember the taxpayers and the residents. And Mr. Poyd, good luck to you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein, and I assure you that we are very conscious of the taxpayers and all the deliberations involving any finances. Okay, anyone else? Okay, the next scheduled Board of Education meeting will be Wednesday, November the 18th, 7 p.m. here in the Media Center of the high school. I move that we close this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting is hereby closed.